episode of Reppin' the State Line podcast with John, George, and Josh is sponsored by The Mortgage Dad. Working with George's team gives you access to an unmatched menu of mortgage programs and over 100 years of combined mortgage experience. Skip the stress, love your mortgage experience, and get home with George. Visit www.homewithgeorge.com. NMLS ID 443967.
What's up?
Is that how you after the Bears win?
Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
1-0 Bears, baby. I ended the last podcast saying go Bears this weekend. It's a big one. And I never thought I'd be sitting here a couple days later saying Bears are 1-0, baby.
Okay, you jumped right into it. Hold on one second. Welcome, everybody, to the Repping the State Line podcast with John, George, and Josh. I'm John, George, and Josh. There you go. All right. And welcome to the season finale of season 1, Repping the State Line podcast. Again, thank you everybody for listening. And now you can go ahead, go talk about the Bears.
Bears. I'm good.
That's all.
Bears win. 1-0.
That's all. He's done now. He got it out.
I sat through the monsoon. I made
how
it.
How wet did you get?
Well, I was smart, and so we had a tailgate, and we had last minute my tailgate partner that joined us. The two of us ran the tailgate. He brought like a big, huge tarp and some PVC pipe and a bunch of bungee cords. And we got there like 8 o'clock. It started sprinkling a little bit, and we jumped out of the car and we opened his trunk and we pulled the tarp over, and we were like MacGyvering, figure out how to make a tent the best we could. And it actually worked out well. We had enough space. We had tables lined on each side. We bungeed the tarp to the tables off the hood of the car. Then we put the PVC poles at the end and tied them to cases of beer to have support. And at the we were able to cook everything. Umbrellas, we had probably like 8 or 9 umbrellas out there, and we just rotated who went under the tent to get food, eat, come out. And it turned out to be actually, if you stayed under that tent, you were dry. And the problem was not everybody could stay under the tent all the time with 16-person tailgate. Got pretty wet from the knees down. And I think the one thing that I'm so glad I didn't or that I did bring, nobody else did, was I brought my combat like waterproof boots. And everybody's laughing at me like, oh, it's going to be 70 degrees. It's going to be warm. And I'm the only one that had dry feet all the way to the end. So
I thought you were going to run an extra pair of socks.
I didn't have to. Everything stayed completely dry inside my feet. And then like inside my core too, like, because we had ponchos on. So my chest, my back was pretty much dry. It was just my pants and, the sleeves a little bit and the head. That definitely got soaked. It was nasty. Absolutely nasty. But hey, we won. 1-0 Bears. I'm loving it. Unfortunately, not 1-0 Jets.
No, the Jets do not disappoint. I will tell you, like when you get used to just having that tragedy of a start, great preseason, all your hopes are up. They bring you up to about here, and then opening day, and they just crash and burn. So it is what it is.
I can't say much. I'm a Cowboys fan, and Dak Prescott got hurt in the 4th. I'm also an Iowa Hawkeye fan. Obviously, as you guys know, we have had a very, very sad start. Being a team that was top 4 last year, very sad start.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a lot of TikToks that I could share with you. I totally forgot you were a Cowboy fan. I'm glad you reminded me, so I'll start sharing them after this.
Perhaps we'll have perhaps when you're editing, George, you could throw a little montage in right about here and then show it to Josh after.
Oh,
oh my goodness. All right, well,
is we had Xfinity out here like 4 times this summer, and they like reran lines and a whole bunch of stuff. And like my wife we pay for like this super high internet stuff, and it's terrible. Like sometimes it's so hard to do anything in my house. It's stupid. And it's not like I live out in the country. I live in smack dead middle of Rockford.
Nope, I totally get it. I got the same issues up in Roscoe half the time. Weather's bad, the internet goes out. It's ridiculous, but it is what it is. With that,
So Josh, tell us about your weekend. I want to hear all about this camp.
Oh man, my weekend was incredible. Um, we had a lot of problems, and I think this just might be a societal thing, where people like agree to do something and then like last minute back out, right? So we had actually 8 volunteers from Monday night at 9 o'clock until Friday morning back out. And that's 8 volunteers that were supposed to be with a little buddy. Um, so we had, I mean, I ended up having to go to Chicago on Wednesday, I think it was, as you guys know, put out a bunch of fires, make sure everything's going, um, stuff with catering and all that good jazz, and just stuff I couldn't do here. But we ended up shifting some people around. We got a couple people to volunteer and do the background check, 24 hours beforehand, and we only had to pair up two little kids with one big buddy, um, which is amazing. And it ended up we were able to do it with my sister, so she took on just an incredible role of having two little girls, ages 8 and 9. Like one little girl, age 8 or 9, is a lot. Now she had two, but she killed it. She crushed it. We had 100. We ended up having 150 people there between volunteers and campers. We had gorgeous weather Friday, gorgeous weather all day Saturday. It rained on Sunday, but we kind of wrap up some stuff. A lot of indoor stuff happened on Sunday, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But just man, we had, I want to say, over half our kids this year are new to camp. So what that means is they've never been to our bereavement camp before, or their loss had been so recent that they're just not finding out. Like we had a young boy that lost his mom to a vehicular homicide in December,
Jeez.
and his dad commit suicide in February. So he lost both parents within less than a calendar's year. So it's stuff like that we hear all the time, right? And it's so hard to listen and just realize what these kids are going through. I mean, you ask anyone, we kicked butt. I got like 5 hours of sleep the whole weekend. We had a couple kids Saturday night get sick, so I had to take care of that stuff. We had some volunteers that ended up leaving early on Saturday for not feeling well or an emergency. But other than that, I mean, it was awesome. Our theme was gaming, so we related grief to games. And so how we in our journey circles, what we call our mental health healing time with our clinical licensed therapist. So related gaming to grief, right? So you start off like with your character. You build your character, who you want to be, and then you kind of go throughout the games. And at the end was our leveling up ceremony, and we've taught them things throughout the weekend that coping strategies that they can use when they're feeling down or in a bad space or mentally bad space here and there. And it's crazy to listen to a group of kids that have never been to camp or have been to camp on Friday not talk at all or not want to be there, or we have to like convince them after his football game to come to camp, right? Because some of these kids are, sophomores, juniors, and seniors in high school that play football, and so it's crazy having these kids come and then not want to stay to Sunday where we have to like pretty much force them to leave.
Right.
So it's just crazy, but it was an awesome camp. We're taking a couple weeks off, and back in October, start planning for next year, right? We got some pretty big grants this year, which is pretty cool. We have grant writers that write for us, and we got a couple huge grants that are going to allow us to expand our clinical therapy side of things to help these kids and families even more. Like we're now even getting out to we're having once a month family therapy where these parents can get on and get therapy services that they need, and kids can get on a couple times a month, and it's all free to them. We're looking to do some like family camp retreat stuff. Like it's allowing us to grow and get bigger and get our name out there more because obviously you guys know with these school shootings, these mass shootings, just shootings in general in larger cities, not everyone knows about our services, and we have a proven track record to help people. So it's now our goal to grow it and make it a household name for when a tragedy like that happens. So,
Right, and Josh, one more time then, the name of the organization, the name of the camp.
Yeah, so it's the Sheila A. Doyle Foundation. If you go to sadfund.org, you can get to it. They are the foundation itself that give on the college scholarships and do all that. Who it's Kids Above All that does all of the operations of Camp Sheila. So Sheila is the name of the mother of the foundation that was murdered and stuffed in her trunk because 3 kids shot a hole in their mother's hood. And so Sheila was driving home from working a night shift at a hospital, and they had the same kind of car, and they ran in and were trying to steal the hood of her car and shot her and stuffed her in the trunk in her garage. So
Unreal.
And if you go to sadfund.org, you'll read the whole story about it. You'll see the whole thing. And we actually, it's kind of cool. We had 3 or 4 people from the Rockford area actually decide to volunteer and come, and they all have said the same thing. It's life changing for the volunteers as well as the kids. You learn stuff as an adult about yourself that you didn't know about you. So, but it was
Awesome.
fun. Lots and lots of fun.
Awesome.
That sounds like a great weekend.
If you want to volunteer, reach out. We can get you hooked up for next year. What'd you guys do this weekend?
Well, he went to the Bears game and I worked.
Well, George is always playing and John is always working.
I guarantee that there is wine involved though for John.
Only when I got home.
What's in that cup, John?
It's actually water. It is only water today. No, it's been a busy week. We did miss you last week in our podcast. It's been a busy week. Had a lot of things going on. Had a lot of work. Was out. I mean, Sunday was a colder day than we're used to. And the funny thing was, I did one of those little tests on Facebook that morning before I left and said, John needs a bottle of wine and a box of cheesy pizza. And came home from a full day of showings on Sunday to a pot of chili on the stove and a bottle of red. And it was just a nice way to end the weekend. Wrote a couple of offers. So we'll see how things go. But yeah, it was just a great weekend, and that's what we do. Is what I do. Sometimes I have to work the weekend. You take a day off during the week then to make up for it. But it's just been a crazy little market shift. It's not as nuts as it used to be, but it was nice to be able to go out and show some properties even in the rain. But that's about it.
You always know that saying, if you want to be a big dog, you got to play with the big dogs, right?
Well, that's
that
it.
means working.
We touched on it last week, but Josh, you missed it. We touched on it last week, but I like how John's wearing his pin now, Mr. Director.
Oh yeah, it's on this side. I'm looking at the wrong side there on the thing, but yeah, my director's pin I've got installed for the Heartland Realtors Organization Board of Directors last week. Start my term October 1st and run till September 30th of next year. So, but I have an event I'm going to tonight after we're done recording because we do a lot of stuff with our government affairs and our CARES committee. And we have a event happening at the Crystal Lake Country Club tonight. So I'm running off to that as soon as we're done recording here. So that's why I didn't dress up for the season finale, although I should have.
I do like. I really like the black V-neck with the sport coat combo.
Yeah.
That's
It's a
very nice.
great look.
All
It's
right.
a great.
So, Josh, I know you found a couple things for this weekend. We got to keep this episode short, but I definitely want to recap the season and kind of close out the season. So let's get to, let's jump into what's happening, what's coming up this
So I
coming
found,
weekend.
yeah, I found a couple things. They're not necessarily here in the Rockford area, but they're kind of in the tri-state, northern Illinois. I would say southern Wisconsin. So Lake Geneva Honky Tonk Music Fest and Craft Beer Tasting is on Saturday the 17th from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Um, off of Baker Street in Seminary Park in Lake
Okay.
Geneva. That it's the price ranges from $10 tickets to $49 tickets. I'm not too sure what what that all entails, but hey, we have that. And then there's also the DeKalb Walking Beer Tour, which is Keg and Kernel by Tangled Roots Brewing Company off of East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb. That's
Interesting.
$59. And then a thing actually I've been to multiple times. My wife loves going out there. It's called the Peck thing. It's there at the Winnebago County Fairgrounds. And it's just, I mean, they take over the fairgrounds. It's just like antiques and arts and crafts and wood. And, I mean, it's all like decor, right? Or things to make DIY decor projects. And yeah, I mean, my wife usually goes. I think I have it twice a year, maybe once in the spring, once in the fall. But my wife always enjoys going out there. So
Is there a cost to admission at the Peck thing? Do you know?
no, it's free. Just
So it's
walk
free to
in
come.
and-
You just walk in and go and
Yeah, you can buy
Nice.
stuff. It's like a giant swap meet.
cool.
That's pretty dope. Yeah.
So,
So not much happening, but there's a few things that definitely could keep you busy. Week 2 of the NFL, of course. Week 3 of college football. This weekend, Edwards Apple Orchards live and thriving. This is I'd say the first week we've seen of a little bit of a cool down in the area. So we definitely seeing a little bit.
love it.
Yep. And we're definitely getting into fall. And for once, I could say we actually have a fall. It feels like every year it would go from warm to, oh my gosh, there's snow. Like where did the fall go? So
Yeah. I love
thrilled.
to turn off the AC, open the windows,
Yep.
let the air flow, let my
1000%.
wallet rest a little bit.
Oh yes.
Trickle bell.
Right? Especially with the increase in energy costs of late. That's going to be a huge little reprieve.
Hey, I do want to give a shout out though. Our capacitor in our AC unit went out last week or 2 weeks ago, or whatever, and we had Rockford Heating and Air come out and change the capacitor. I called them at like 11 o'clock. They were at my house by 1:30. They got it fixed in 10 minutes. It was less than $150.
Yeah.
And it was
Mark runs a great company over there. Rockford Heating and Air Conditioning is a great company.
yeah.
They did a lot of work for me when I was a contractor on commercial projects. Because you'd be surprised, there's not many companies that could do certain types of commercial work, but they do it all. So I mean, really good stuff there, and a local business for a long time in our area.
Yeah.
So
Yep. So they're there when you need them. It was nice because I was going out of town. I didn't want my wife stuck if it got really hot with no AC and 3 kids and a dog.
and the dog.
And the dog.
So I mean, it's a perfect timing though to kind of take a little reprieve, a little break. With football full swing in the fall, enjoy our families a little bit, and come back and 2 months from now, which when did we say November, right? Mid-November.
It's going to be mid-November. Yeah, 8 weeks from
And
this week.
it could be if it works out, we all are going to the Bears game. Maybe we could have a live podcast while we are on our escapades in Chicago.
That would be fun. we could definitely record some footage at minimum for
Yes.
to kick
It'll
off
probably
season
be a
2.
little bit of footage because I believe we're doing that on the 12th and 13th is our weekend, and
Yep.
our podcast comes back on the 18th.
Yep. So that'll be our last hurrah before we kick things back into gear. And perfect, right in time for Christmas season, the winter, and you get to share the winter with us. Like I know that
I'm
we've
really
talked.
excited for it.
Yeah, me too. I'll talk a little bit, and then yeah, I'd love for you guys to chime in. You know, this season, 20 episodes, 20 weeks has been pretty eye-opening. I think that you get we really have like a diary to go and reflect about what we've done the past 20 weeks. I mean, it's remarkable that I had a job change, Josh had a job change or employer change. John went from a crazy, insane market to I can breathe again market, all in this 20-week episodes or this 20-week season. You know, we did it on purpose this extra long first season because we didn't want it too short where our audience didn't get a chance to get to know us, but B, it was more of a development season of what we're about, get to know each of us, all three of us. There was times where it was just John and I, just Josh and I, just you two. We poked fun at each other. We had a great season. I wouldn't have changed a thing about it. We skipped episode 13, so there's no bad juju about our podcast at all. And we accidentally skipped episode 18. But outside of that, it was a pretty amazing 20 weeks. I'm very excited about how things went, where we sit, and I will definitely come back 8 weeks from now refreshed and ready to rock for the winter season. I will say that our goal, I think we've all discussed it, is to start bringing in guests into our podcast starting next season. And the format of that, how that'll work, it probably doesn't make sense to do it every episode, but to have one where it's just the three of us, where we can kind of ground the podcast again, one where we bring a guest in, and one where we're live together makes a lot of sense. To do like a combination and change the venue, change the style, the format for the 10 episodes for next season. So that's stuff we're going to plan. We're going to work through over the next 8 weeks. I want to thank the audience for tuning in and our subscribers and the loyal listeners that have followed us for the last 2.5 months. Wait, 5 months. What am I saying? 2.5 months, 5 months, 20 weeks, right? 2, 4, 8, 12, 16. Wow.
20 weeks.
Holy cow. That doesn't seem that long, but yeah, it just flies by when you're having a good time. So that's my 2 cents. I'd love for you two to chime in about the season, what your thoughts are.
I think it's really funny that you said we skipped episode 18 because we didn't even, none of us realized that we skipped episode 18 until I think Sunday night when we all were texting. We realized, holy cow, we didn't record.
Yeah. That just goes to show that was one crazy week.
It was brought up because I was at a birthday party that Saturday, and someone at the birthday party came up to me and said, "Hey, Mr. Cooper, when does the podcast come out? Is it Fridays or Mondays?" I said, "It comes out Fridays." And she goes, "Well, when did it come out yesterday?" I said, "Wait, we didn't record this week. Holy cow." All three of us were so busy that we forgot to record. Wow. And she goes, "Yeah, me and my husband listen to you guys every single week, regularly." She goes, "I really love your guys' podcast. I love what you guys are doing." And she gave us some great ideas on how to even make it better that we have discussed and moving forward. So we're going to try to probably implement some of those ideas in from our listeners. But I just want to say thank you, everybody, honestly. We started this kind of on like a whim at a lunch-ish. We talked about it, and to nobody from, not knowing if any single buddy's going to listen or even download or what, to being now over 200 downloads, having a very successful first season. We owe it all to them. I mean, you guys for listening. I mean, it's you guys that listen that make us want to come back every week to re-record and re-give you the updates, So I just thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I can't wait to see what next season has in store for all of us.
I agree with every bit of that sentiment, guys. Like, first off, to the listeners and the people that watch on YouTube, listen on the different podcast platforms, thank you, because I wasn't sure if people were going to listen. I had a marketing friend of mine. She's awesome. She has a podcast. And I was talking to her about, like, we're thinking about doing this. She goes, what's it going to be about? And I was like, well, it's going to be like our Rep in the State Line Facebook group, but just us talking. And she was like, I don't know. So I really like to appreciate that, because, it's even hard to find the category when I'm looking to see where do we put this as a category. It's not really a business podcast, but we talk about business. It's not really a self-development podcast, but we talk about self-development, self-improvement. It's not a community podcast, but it kind of is, because we talk about how we help the community and other things going on. So I think we have a unique platform, and I am so grateful to each and every person that tunes in every week, or they download a bunch of the episodes that are just catching up with us right now. And would love to just keep hearing your support, comments on Facebook, wherever you get your podcast, write in the comments, like, click, subscribe.
All right. I'm gonna do a little trivia real quick with you guys.
Oh no.
All right. Take a guess how many downloads we've had now. I just pulled up the stats. I got them. How many total downloads for the podcast? No cheat. No looking.
I'm not cheating. I'm not looking. I'm going to
All
say
right.
325.
Okay. Josh?
287.
264. So we've
All right.
we've eclipsed the 200 mark by quite a bit. Now, anybody guess the number one episode that was viewed, listened all time?
No.
I'm gonna say burgers and beer.
Close.
Oh,
Tacos and tequila.
Tacos and tequila, huh?
Tacos and tequila was the number one viewed episode, and
On YouTube.
on all platforms.
On all the platforms, just like listen to everything. So
And
so
second-
obviously sitting and sipping is something people like.
Sitting and sipping was took the first two, and our
What episode was the
first
second one?
episode, the second one was the original Sitting and Sipping with the bourbon,
Right.
and then our third most viewed was our launch episode that we're back, and episode 1, and then Father's Day came after
Wow.
that, and sports. So
You know what that tells me? You know what that tells me? Is-
wait. The top two were we're eating and drinking and sitting and sipping as a bunch of guys. The third one was we're back. Makes sense. The fourth one, Father's Day, and the fifth one, sports. Maybe there's a group of or an audience that likes to watch us. I don't know. I'm just making the top 5 episodes. They're basically manly or more male
Well,
centric episodes. It's
we need to
interesting, though.
we need to know our audience, and
Yeah.
as far as the sports go, I will say, and I am not ashamed to admit this, I am the most out of my element when you two start going full-blown sports, because I've never been that guy. I have teams I like, but I'm not a stats guy. I'm not, the crazy, when family or work or other stuff come in, it's like, I don't mind missing games. I don't mind that stuff. I know some people have to watch every game. So when we go into that, I got my cheat sheet here in front of me. I'll pull up the stats on the phone real quick. So
our biggest mediums by a long shot, 55% Amazon Echo.
Amazon. So everybody says, Alexa, play Rep in the State Line, and you will get it.
Yep.
So
So it's interesting to see that, and then maybe we try to develop a couple episodes where we discuss some things that are different, maybe not sports. And obviously that's a part of our lives, so that'll always be, but maybe we have a couple episodes next season where we surprise you, maybe talk about some kind of a unique businesses or jewelry or something in the area too.
Maybe we could just get our wives to come on our podcast with us, so we can just have a full female. Maybe we
As a
can
live.
first roles one day. Once we
How
have our,
cool
our
would that
we
be?
have the 3 of them do the podcast.
for the week.
How cool would that be?
All
Ooh,
right.
I'm getting some ideas. Yeah, so guys, definitely appreciate you guys, everything you've done for us. And YouTube, like I couldn't pick two better people to be on a podcast with, to be honest.
And I will admit, like George, we first started talking about repping the state line. This was in like March or April of 2019. We started talking about this concept, and we would do X, Y, and Z. And we had our launch on Thanksgiving weekend for the page on Facebook. And we had a lot of people helping us back then. And it dwindled down from, November, December, January into COVID. It became you and me. So I was very grateful when we decided to come back on, change the format, do more of a podcast rather than a weekly video segment on Facebook, because like people were expecting that live Taco Tuesday every Tuesday at lunchtime. And that made it very difficult with our schedules. At least a podcast format, we record, you don't know when we're recording, but the information is all relevant for the week. And when Josh was like, I'd love to get involved in that, I just felt that would be a perfect fit. The three of us are really great friends. We spend a lot of time together.
I don't think you and I, the two of us, pulled this off. Josh was I think he was the final piece that really made this work, because when you're gone or I'm gone, am I going to just talk by myself?
Right.
I think having three is integral to, and I love that it's three different generations in a way. You're in your 20s, I'm in my 30s, you're in your 40s, or
we're all 10 years apart.
It's a great mix of opinions, of culture, of everything, that's a part of our lives that we bring to
the crazy part though is next year for us, right, being all 10 years apart, me and John being 20 years apart, is a huge time in all of our lives, because John's gonna be 50, George is gonna be 40, I'm gonna be 30. Like, it's
we may have
crazy.
to have a big celebration. We may have to plan something in
What
one of these seasons.
Probably plan a representation line like party somewhere. Would be
For
cool.
sure.
Oh, who has a child walking in right now? I just heard someone.
Yeah, they just got home from school.
There you go.
I'm home, so.
Well, that's a perfect note to end our season finale. Say hi to the kids. Oh, here he goes. He's going to grab one of them, pull them on here now. Oh, nope, she don't want to hear it.
Nope, she don't want it. Yeah, this is do all your podcasty things while we're waiting.
Yes, do your podcasty things. So listen to wherever you listen on podcasts. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Hi, sweetie. Hi. And she's on our podcast. On YouTube, please like, comment, share. Go to the Facebook page, like our Facebook page, is Repping the State Line. There's links always on Facebook at our page to either the podcast episode or to watch it on YouTube channels. And other than that, all I can say is I'm grateful to have you guys in my life. And I'm grateful for the audience that listens to us and wants to hear us talk about what's going on in the state line.
And for one last time for this season, see you guys in 8 weeks.
See you in 8 weeks, baby.
Have a good one, guys.